Today, let's talk 1911's. Specifically, is it worth spending 5 times more money on a somewhat custom gun like this Les Baer versus something more affordable like this Rock Island? So I've got in front of me 2 full-size, it's 5-inch 1911's. They're both all steel, very similar guns. The only thing I've done to them is change out the grips. So that's just personal preference on these. Doesn't have anything, really, any effect on what I'm going to talk about today. So let's take a quick look at the 2 guns that I've got here. Les Baer Custom Carry, 1911. Rock Island Armory. I believe this is called their Tactical model, but it's not a railed version. Basically a GI spec with the lowered and flared ejection port and dovetail sights. Same features I've got on the Les Baer. Let's get it out of the way first. $500 this is a damn good pistol. No problems with it. If you want a 1911, you don't want to spend a fortune, you're looking at Glock money, I can highly recommend something like this, Rock Island Tactical. She'll get the job done. It's good. I think it's every bit as good fit and finish wise, performance wise as a Glock. I think your Glock's a little more forgiving on the ammo that it'll feed, but as long as you know limitations of the platform and what you've got, you got no real issues. So that being said, I've never had any issues with this gun. Fed it all sorts of ammo. Winchester white box, reloads, Federal HST, you know, my hollow point carry ammo. I don't carry this gun, but I do have carry ammo in 45, and I've fed it through here with no problems. I believe it'll probably be, some 1911s can be a little bit picky with some of the other bullet profiles. Wad cutters, some of them might not like, but that just depends on how well polished and smooth your feed ramp is in your barrel, as well as your magazines. 1911s, you gotta have good magazines. And also, if you're sticking with a more inexpensive 1911, stick with the 45. You can make these things run in other calibers. I've got 9mm 1911s and 2011s. They run great, but you have to do a little bit of different engineering to get them to work properly and as reliably. That being said, let's take a look, compare these two, contrast these two. I'll give you my thoughts on them. So, Les Baer Custom Carry. Very simple, not very pretty, very simple. To me, I like that. I'm not paying a lot of money for cosmetics on this gun. It doesn't look much different than this Rock Island. But Les Baer, stainless steel match barrel, good night sights. I like these, the 3-dot night sights. Does the front one come up there? Yeah. Ambi safeties, you can see these are 2 different sizes. The one on the right here is a little bit wider than the one on the left. That's pretty typical. I'm right-handed. That's how I want it set up. I like having that here. It's got some good checkering at the front of the grip here, so plenty of purchase. It's nice and grippy, but it doesn't tear up your hand. Good checkering on the back of that mainspring housing. Slide serrations, they're nice. Even if you're sweating, I can still get a good grip on here. That works well. Same thing even on the front if you want them up there. So she's pretty nice, set up really well. I do like this. The Rock Island, same features, ambi safety. These are the short ones on both sides, left and right. Remember on the Les Baer, the right side is a little bit bigger. The sights on this I don't like as much, but I mean, you could always change them out. That is just a solid black front sight, and then the rear sight's very similar, but these are not night sights, they're just solid black. Full length guide rod in this. No checkering, that's why I put on these rubber grips. It's got some serrations in the back, but on this mainspring housing, but they work, but they're nowhere near as grippy as the Les Baer. But it does the job. Again, that's the reason I put these grips on. Get a little bit better purchase on here if you're sweaty or it's raining. But you can see, very similar in outward appearance. They function the same, so no real issues there. Let's start talking a little bit about what makes these different and where your money's going. Number one, 1911. People always talk about the trigger. If all you've ever shot are striker fired pistols, you don't know what you're missing. Triggers on these, they have a little bit of creep, but just like a good rifle. Nice wall, very good trigger, even on this Rock Island. Over here, again, a little bit less creep and a much nicer trigger. I like this one a lot better. Costs 5 times as much money. You'd expect it to be better, but it is. Let's take a look at this Rock Island. Now we're going to get into some more of the major differences. It has to do with the fitting and how things are put together on here. There's a little bit of side-to-side play. I don't know that it's going to come up in this. The camera's going to pick it up. There's a little bit of side-to-side play going this way, back and forth, right? Not much. I mean, you're talking 16th, 32nd of an inch. Just a little bit of play. Over here on the Les Baer, nothing like that. I'll tell you, I don't feel any play. If there is, you can't measure it. There's no real play there. So it gives this trigger a nicer feel. The finish on these, the Rock Island, just a black nitride finish. The Les Baer, I believe that is actually a blued finish. Very nice. It's a deeper finish. It's nice. It's nothing like you'll see in some of the very early 1911's with the beautiful deep bluing, but it looks good. These both have, for reliability reasons, an injection port that has been lowered and flared. So your original 1911's, this ejection port was cut up slightly higher, and it didn't have this little notch right here. They call it the flaring. This helps with getting the brass out and ejecting a little bit more. Opens that up. Let's take a look inside here. Let's see if we can show you some of the finishing. So, this is where your money gets spent, is right, some of it anyway, right inside. The barrels are much better polished on this Les Baer. There's a ramp between the lower frame and the barrel that's ramped nicely. It's got a relatively small ledge. Means this thing's going to feed ammo very well. This one, it's going to be kind of hard to show it in here. So you can see there's a bit more of a ledge between the lower frame and the barrel right in there. It's really hard to show, but there is a slightly bigger ledge, and so, as I was saying earlier, 1911's can be a little bit picky about the type of ammo that you feed them, and that's part of the reason. They spent a lot more time getting this one polished up well. Well, I have the slides locked back. This is a personal preference. Standard half-length, standard length guide rod, full-length guide rod. I don't like the full lengths. Nothing inherently wrong with them, but the reason I don't like them is, let's just say you get a jam. When you have a standard guide rod, you can bring your 1911 up to the edge of a table and just put all your weight on that grip and clear that jam. Full-length guide rod, you can't do that. Obviously the guide rod's going to hit my hand or the table that you're using. So, it's something I've never really had to deal with, but in my mind, I just like the ability, the knowledge that if there is a problem, I've got a way to fix it. So that's why I don't like the full-length guide rods on 1911's. I shoot this one a lot. That's why it came with this guide rod, but since I do shoot it a lot, I would have changed to this had it come with a full-length one. The next thing you're going to notice, let's take a look here. Again, these differences are kind of small, so it's hard to tell what's going to show up on camera and not. This is a Les Baer, this one's a Rock Island. If you take a look at the fitting between the lower and the slide, or you can call it the frame and the slide, you can see the fitting between the Les Baer. They took a little more time and they made it fit tighter. It fits better. So that's a good and a bad thing. It's bad in the sense that it can't take as much dirt and debris as something like this. Your loose pistols are less likely to jam up when they get dirty. Tight pistols, and I don't know that I'd call this one especially tight, but your tighter ones, once they start getting sand and dirt, they're going to be more prone to jamming or having feed problems. Just as an example, I took this gun out into the desert. My brother was with me and we were just doing some shooting out there. Went through 800 rounds in an afternoon. After around 600, I began to have some issues with one magazine in this gun. And what was going on is the slide, it would cycle back and then just get stuck, not go fully into battery, it would stick around here. So you just smack it on the back, get it into battery, and she'll work. And that only happened with one mag, so that was a combination of dirt, sand, slowing down the action enough, and a magazine that was probably a little bit out of spec compared to the other ones. And so those two things together worked to create a problem where this gun didn't cycle properly. Pulled that mag out, just put it back in the range bag, used my other ones, and went through another 200 rounds after that with no more issues. And after I cleaned the gun and lubed it, I used that same mag and didn't have any issues. So it was just a combination of sand and a specific magazine. So just something to be aware of, and one of the downsides to getting a pistol that fits a little bit tighter. If the tolerances are tighter, you get some dirt in there, you're likely to have problems. This gun, I don't think I've quite run as many rounds through it at one shot, but I've definitely played with it in the desert, in the dirt. Never had any issues. I'm not quite going to say it's as good and reliable as a Glock, because I know it can have issues, but I haven't come across any, so I wouldn't be afraid of it. So what do you get spending 5 times the money on, let's call it a production custom gun? Looks a little bit nicer. Fits a little bit better. All the pieces, when you disassemble this, you can take a look and just see all the pieces, all the machining marks, the mill marks, they've kind of been removed. They're better polished. you're paying someone to take the time, polish this thing up, kind of like how you blueprint an engine, right? That's what you're paying for in this. You don't get that here. There's not much hand fitting. I'm sure they do some, but nowhere near as much as a Les Baer, a Wilson, your higher end stuff. They both run well, but ultimately it comes down to, is it worth it? Can't tell you how to spend your money. I'm not gonna lie, $2,500 is quite a good chunk of money. It's noticeable, it's expensive, but to me, it's worth it. I like this one. It shoots well, does the job really well, it feels good. I like it. Absolutely nothing wrong with the Rock Island though. I'd highly recommend one if you're just looking to get a 1911. Go grab one that fits your budget. These Rock Islands, it's a good gun, solid gun. There's a diminishing point of returns in 1911's. So you spend twice as much money, your gun isn't twice as good. You spend 5 times as much money, your gun isn't 5 times as good. It's nicer, feels better, but it's incremental upgrades for a lot of money. I liken it a lot to racing. You want to go get that last second on a lap. You're going to spend a fortune chasing that. Probably spend more than you already put in your car, just to improve those few seconds here and there instead of just getting out there and running. So you need to make up your mind on if it's worth it to you. It is, in my opinion, a better gun, but it's not 5 times better. No question about that. Anyway, hope you found that useful. Take care.